All right, this is Attacker Ghost Stories. So this is me. My kids are awesome. My plaque out of the Marine Corps literally says Movix, aka Rob Fuller, because the guys in the Marine Corps called me Movix. Father, husband, Nova Hacker, those are my credentials. These are the ones that matter to me. I don't have CS, P, CAU, whatever. Anyone know what Nova Hackers is? Anyone? Come on, one? Cool. Yay. Nova Hackers is a group I started with Chris Gates doing security related stuff. It's sort of like an InfoSec Toastmasters. You can talk about anything you want for 15 minutes. And it's all InfoSec stuff, less web appy stuff. So why are we here? This is interactive. Why are you guys here? Free food, right? Yeah, makes sense. So I could talk more about this, and in my other presentation when I did this, I talked more about it. But basically, what it boils down to is most of us, except for the ones who just want money, are here to make stuff better, right? We're here to get better security, do things better, learn, strive to do better. Yeah. So one of the things that you can do better is EMET. So anyone heard of EMET? It's more popular now these days. EMET, Enhanced Mitigation Experience Tool. Okay. No?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jeez. Wow. Huh?
Except we call it EMET typically.
EMET. What?
Potato.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this thing is that it actually does protections right. So when you're talking about it, when you're talking about someone exploiting a vulnerability, they go, well, or you want to talk attacker kill chains, then I'll kick you out of the room. I hate that stuff. So the first thing is they craft some kind of thing to exploit a service. Well, applications, there are millions and millions and billions of different applications. Trying to patch or figure out how to fix all kinds of applications is near impossible. So, or it isn't possible. So, me as a defender, I have to protect every single application in my network. That sucks. It's not something I can ever win. So, when someone exploits a buffer overflow or a heap overflow, they have to do things in specific order to get things to work after that. Like, there's only a handful of ways to do that. That's like going from a giant interstate down to a dirt road. Like, where are you going to put your security guard? At the dirt road, right? Instead of trying to protect the highway. So what EMET does is really cool because it protects the dirt road. It makes sure that the certain protections, the certain mechanisms that attackers do stuff at in heap and buffer overflows get stopped in the mechanisms at that point. And that's what EMET does. It's deployable by GPO, it's free. So by now, most of you have already deployed this, right? Makes sense, yeah. I think 5.0 or 5.5 or 6.0 probably is out by now. Has tons of protections. This was 4.5. So all of these different things. So all of this stuff was built into the system for a while. All of this stuff came after that applications could get into, and this is more EMET specific. So there's a lot of protections, but there's not that, like, compared to the number of applications that you have to protect, 13 or 20 of these is nothing. So if you apply those to applications, or specific ones, you get a lot of stuff. And I'm really beating a dead horse at this point. Everyone loves EMET. But there are EMET bypasses, right? There's ways around it. However, this one and that one both go into applications and say, I can bypass it in these specific circumstances. Now that's cool that they could do that. And some of these are only if you don't turn on specific protections. So EMET's still very valid and very useful. Okay, so we got buffer overflows and heap sprays out of the way. That's good. But we still have to worry about phishing, right? This is going to be really boring if I don't get interaction.
Yes.
Because I'll just sit here.
So one quick question.
Yeah.
Email only protects Windows applications or?
Yes, Windows. It's a Microsoft product.
Okay.
We don't have to protect Linux and Mac, right? It doesn't give viruses.
That's most.
So
Yeah.
how does it work, the email?
How does it work?
Yeah.
It applies protections over on top of by hot patching the application. Lots of applications don't like that, so there are compatibility issues. But the prime targets for people doing buffer overflows or phishing attempts of that nature, like Word, Excel, Acrobat, Internet Explorer, all work fine with email.
So from an architecture perspective, is it like a FOSSI kind of library? Is it?
So it's a application that gets installed on Windows, and then a DLL is injected into each application that you opt into that protection.
So it's built into as part of the application.
So Solitaire, for instance, doesn't have EMET, but if you install EMET, you can apply EMET to Solitaire, and then it has the DLL loaded into it.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what about Java? Java's awesome, right? No.
No.
No, it is not.
Awesome for an attacker.
Yeah, awesome for attacker. But this was a couple of years ago, 2014, 2013. This is when Java was rampantly exploited, right? But how do we protect against Java? Well, right now, Chrome doesn't even allow the Java plugin anymore. Like the Oracle's website says, to enable it, please do these 7 steps in Chrome. It's hilarious. I was actually installing Java on a box the other day, and I went to the use Chrome to go to java.com, and it was like, here's the steps to get Java working inside of Chrome. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But it still works relatively in Internet Explorer, which is the prime target anyways, as well as Firefox has also disabled it. So this is not as big of a problem anymore. But if you still have an IE shop, which probably most of you do, you're still kind of worried about this. So how do you block Java? Well, you can't block Java because people use it all the time, right? But people usually use it for internal applications. So if you try and patch it on their systems automatically, or if you try and do blocking Java outright, it doesn't work. Your developers or you guys as developers hate it. Well, there's a way to do it at the proxy where you don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'll show you. So Internet Explorer, when it's going across the wire, you have a user agent. That user agent is amazing to attackers. We love Internet Explorer because it tells us so much about the application. What can you tell me about this application? What can you tell me about this one browser?
It's IE8.
IE8. What else?
It's Windows 7.
Windows 7. Yeah.
.NET versions.
All the .NET versions available. Yeah. Media Center's installed. I get a wealth of information as an attacker just by one request to my website. One single request. Now, I do phishing quite a bit, and one of the things I noticed a while ago was when I did phishing and I loaded an evil Java application, or jar, Internet Explorer and the plugin passes that information to go get it, that jar, to Java itself. Java itself then goes out on the proxy and pulls it down and runs the code. Well, it does it with something else. It does it with its own user agent. So, after starting to look at how to fix things instead of break them all the time, I said, hey, if I wanted to stop this, I could just block this user agent from ever getting allowed out of my network. Make sense? So, I did this at a very big company that I used to work at. And the amazing thing is, it worked. the developers didn't complain. And the way we did this is by going through and saying, okay, take all of our proxy logs, look through every bit of it, take it just the user agents, sort unique it, look for just the string Java in there, and say, what domains do they go to? In a business, a global business, how many domains did you think we saw in there? 30, 300, 3,000, 30,000? How many domains do you think we saw?
I'm gonna guess 30 here.
3. Really? We saw 3. So we saw Oracle and Java.com, I'll loop those into one. All the Oracle related products. We saw Cisco's GoToMeeting stuff, and we saw, what's the other one? GoToMeeting and WebEx. I'm sorry, GoToMeeting's not Cisco, Citrix. Citrix GoToMeeting stuff and Cisco's WebEx stuff. That's it. Throughout an entire month, we saw 3 domains and a couple others. Like a couple of those that were where we detected bad stuff on it that we hadn't seen before. That was awesome. So all we did was allowed those 3 domains and blocked everything else. So you can see me as an attacker, I see that. If they never, so what happens is if you block the user agent, they'll never see this little awesome security warning that we want them to click run on and accept all further stuff on, because that's what an attacker wants you to do. Also, it works in SSL without decrypting SSL, because when you have a proxy, that proxy gets the user agent outside of the encrypted channel. You see there's a connect, this connect to java.com. That user agent is right there where it's pulling down the jar file from java.com for doing the version check. So even without doing SSL decryption, you can see how this works. Now, one of the, yeah?
Can we get the slides later?
No. They're online, already there. One of the crazy things that we noticed about this, because it was 2015 and we were doing Mac deployments as well, because people were getting really fond of Macs and stuff, is that it protected Macs too. Because it's on the proxy. We don't have to install any agent, it just, the proxy does it for us. Great. Make sense? Easy stuff. And guess what? It was free. We didn't have to buy any tool to go patch Java. We didn't have to buy any tool to protect us and do threat intelligence. We didn't have to buy any tool. We just added a filtering rule in our proxy.
You don't have the proxy option. Have you looked at the one rule set?
You should always have a proxy option.
If you don't,
That's a bad idea.
I guess like have you tried the one rule set? Is it effective? I guess.
Is what?
The Java one rule set and like whitelisting what applets can load.
Hard to manage. It's really hard to manage. So we did do, so his question was, does the Java deployment rule set help or fix it or do better? It's a per system setup, and doing that at scale at 30,000, 300,000, 3 million hosts sucks. There have been scripts, and Stack Overflow is wonderful for that, about how to make it, globally set, but it's not easy. And I think I remember someone doing like an actual GPO for it, but I don't know if that's just offhand or not. Okay. So we got rid of Java. That's awesome. Next, we're going to talk about logging and scanning and doing all the stuff that we kind of know about that happens all the time. So how many in this room, if you were on the defensive team and you saw a successful removal of PW dump from an IIS box in your DMZ of AV, would you say, yay, cool, done, it worked?
How did it get on there?
How did it get there? How did it freaking get there? So, as a story, I was actually doing doing incident response for a company one time, and our AV guy came over and put down the antivirus report on my desk, and I had to review it just to make sure all of the weather.com apps were successfully removed. So I start going through it, and I see PW dump on the IIS box, like web server 001, and I freak out. Start going nuts, and we go into incident response mode. Why is that an issue? For those who are kind of new to InfoSec, why is that an issue? Why did it get there, right? What do you think? Does anyone not know what PW dump is? It's okay. So PW dump is password dumping. It's a tool that dumps passwords, sort of like Mimikatz or some of the other more popular stuff like GRSec dump and stuff like that. It's a password dumping tool. It's a hacking tool. So normally hacking tools don't just show up on web servers. It's a bad thing that happens. Logon alerting. There have been a lot more products that came out after I gave this presentation, but when I gave it initially, AD Audit Plus was the only one that did this. How many of you in this room have or worked for a company that audits or looks at successful logins? Not very many, right? Yeah. I'm going to call all of you liars as soon as you raise your hand, so it's okay. So successful logging. Me as a pen tester, red teamer, getting into a machine or a network. First box I get on, I probably don't have credentials to. But every other box after that, I will have credentials. That's how I work. That's how I move from system to system. I don't magically come up with an exploit per box, because that's a lot of work. Once I have credentials, I just use the credentials. So AD Audit Plus actually was one way that I got caught one time, because a corporation had this. And what it does is it correlates successful logins. So what happened was this guy, this admin, had set up alerting to his cell phone if he ever logged into more than one place at one time. So he was proactive and did it himself. And as soon as I got his account, I used it at a couple different systems to see what I could get into, and he got an email. His email, or I think it was a text message, he responded to it, said reset password. Responded to the thing, automatically reset his password. Shot him a new password, a temporary password that was only good for 3 minutes. I couldn't access that because I didn't know where to get it. I didn't know what was happening. Me as an attacker, I have no idea. I mean, unless I was looking directly at his email or his phone, I would not know that. And then I was done. Like, that test was over. Like, he found me, started digging in, and kicked me out. Okay, next question. How many of you in here have a machine or corporate laptop or network that has HIPS installed, host intrusion prevention? As soon as you admit it, I know that it's McAfee because it's the only one on the block. But no, HIPS or host intrusion prevention systems are installed on boxes as agents that do more heuristic type stuff. It's looking for other things like network scanning or someone doing things to or from that machine. The problem is that most people don't turn on the prevention part. It's host intrusion prevention system. They don't turn on the prevention part because McAfee and all the others that do it have a bad reputation for blocking or setting alerts or stopping stuff that is legitimate. So if I turn on all of the blocking stuff and my business goes down, guess who they're going to point at? The IT guy, right? He's going to then turn everything off because he doesn't want to get in trouble again. So the difference is that McAfee and some of the other tools have categorization. And instead of a full-on, full-off, people need to start looking at that categorization. Going back up to the PW dump stuff. That's a hacking tool. It should never be on a system. If it's categorized as a hacking tool, you should alert and block it from happening. So it's okay to have a bunch of your alerts off, like new aggressive alerts or whatever categorization off on HIPS. But please, please, please turn the hacking tools or the tool category on. vuln reporting versus vuln scanning. Now this is getting better. I've noticed that more people are actually doing some stuff, but I know a lot of vulnerability management people and scanners that they hit go on Qualys or Nessus or Nexpose, and once the report's done, because there's so much data, they just ship it off to their, the managers that own those systems. You know how detrimental that is? Not very, because all they do is throw it in the trash. Okay. Why do they do that?
They don't know how to read it.
They don't know how to read it.
It's easier for them to pass the buck.
See, so why do the owners of the systems
Why do the owners of
just
systems?
trash it, throw it in the back?
Because they don't know what to do with it.
They don't know what to do with it, or it's too much data. Like, if I tell you guys right now that I found a vulnerability on every single one of your systems in the PHP function in Apache for system,
They're going to be scared to break something. They're going to be scared to patch and migrate.
right? Is that exploitable? Can I exploit that vulnerability? If you're not running PHP, probably not. And even if you are, there has to be a code path to it. And even if that happens, I have to be able to find it. So the exploitability rating on that thing is like 0, but the CVV or CSV or whatever score is like a 10 because it's direct code execution. The problem in this industry, specifically for vuln reporting, is there's no analysis. There's none. Like, if I look at a vulnerability on a vuln scan, it's not going to tell me if it's exploitable or not. Some, like Nessus, has started putting exploitability indexes in there, but they're nowhere near accurate. Why? Because Nessus or Tenable has no idea anything about your network. If I have MS-08067, which is the best exploit from an attacker point of view, known to man or woman, and it's on a system that never touches the network, but I have to scan it because it's part of compliance, I don't care. Like, it's not exploitable. So we need to, I implore all of you to go and start doing more analysis. If you don't know how to do analysis, use your pen testers. When I'm on a pen test, if it's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a year long, if I'm on a pen test, I'm spending time learning your network and figuring out and breaking in and doing all that stuff. But if you tell me, here's the vuln scan report, tell me what's important, I will jump for joy. Why? I learn your network a lot faster, so I can be more productive. It's not cheating. So the more I get to find out about your network, the better I do. And the better I do, the more stuff that you can actually secure. Are you going to look bad? Sure, maybe, whatever. But it's not about looking bad or good. It's about fixing things. So if you give me your vuln scan, and I go through it and say, yeah, I couldn't exploit that PHP thing, I couldn't exploit that PHP thing, I couldn't exploit this Apache thing, it's on Red Hat, they do backporting, and go down the list, and it takes me an hour to do that, you've just utilized an hour of my time, which is very little compared in the pen test or 1 week test. And you've gained so much knowledge that you wouldn't have had unless you do analysis yourself and do pen testing and you understand it. But very, very few times have I ever had a client utilize my time to the best of their ability. Okay, next thing. So we talked about phishing a little bit. We got rid of EMET, we got rid of Java. We talked about some of the other things that we as an industry have done for years. I want to kind of twist your heads a little bit, twist your brains, and say we're going to need to fix it not at a user level by doing stupid education. So user education, in my personal humble opinion, which is not humble at all, is that user education is idiotic. They are not there to secure your company. They joined to be forklift drivers. They joined to be lawyers. They joined your company to do what they joined to do. Your job is security, or whoever your security person is. Stop forcing it down on them. So, how do we get this to be more productive? Well, we make it into a game. So, the Security Incident or Phishing Incentive Program. This is a program that we put together at a company I used to work for, where the top users for reporting malicious or fishy content got points. How much does points cost at a company? How much does it cost a company to give out points?
Nothing.
Zero. Nothing. How much do we value points as human beings? Way too much. Badge systems are insane on apps and freaking Xbox and everything. You know how much it costs to give out a badge? Nothing. So we play on that. We make it a badge system. We make it important to them to get points because of this right here. This is the important piece. At the end of the month, whoever has the most points gets an email from the president of the company saying thank you. It also goes in their weekly or monthly or yearly review. We are self-centered individuals. We like to do good. We like to be recognized for doing good, right? If we get an email from the president of the company, we feel important. Doing that, just that, made every single individual in our company interested in phishing. They wanted to catch things. They started reporting people doing, what is it called when you follow someone into somewhere?
Tailgating.
Tailgating. They started reporting tailgating. We gave them points for it. They started reporting all kinds of stuff. We didn't notice that one of our badge systems didn't work right. Had no idea. They reported it. We gave them points. How much did it cost us? Zero. Yes, sir.
We've got a system like this, don't give out points, but I don't participate. Why? Because once I tell the company that there's a problem out there, nothing happens.
So I get to that. Next slide.
Okay.
Getting too far ahead. When I worked for the Pentagon, there was this wonderful idea called the Think Evil Games. I made them the Quarter Quells, but whatever, if you guys are into Hunger Games. But we had the Think Evil Games. This Think Evil Games was essentially you guys or anyone in the entire Pentagon can come and report a way that they circumvented security and not get in trouble for it. Then what happened was they showed you how to do what you wanted to do correctly. So we had tons of people report how they got to Facebook because Facebook was blocked. Then we showed them, hey, here's the internet cafe. You can go to Facebook all day if you want in this place. And here's 20 free hours on the systems in here. And if you want to get it around it again, we're going to talk to you about having another system or always positive, not negative. That was awesome. This is where I learned to think like that. The other thing is, how many of you have gone to a website in your company and it's done some kind of error and you're like, that sucks, and tried to refresh and it worked again? You didn't do anything about it. You didn't say anything. You just went on with your day and forgot totally about it until right now. Yeah, most of you, right? I know that I was on a company HR page and it gave a full stack dump one time. I jumped for joy, copied it down, because I'm a pen tester, and didn't tell anybody about it until later. Then I remembered our incentive program and reported it. I got points. So we instituted, so we had phishing and security. And then when I started looking at maybe adding bug bounty to it, where if you reported something, an error in an application, if it became something that was important to that application or something where someone could exploit it, you got points. And going back to it, how much does points cost? 0. We were literally getting people to work harder by providing them virtual currency. It was awesome. And then what we did was we had the email going out, and that wasn't enough for some people. Some people didn't think that getting recognized by the CEO, president of the company was important to them. So we started giving out gift cards. Now, anyone know how much a breach costs a company? Millions, right? How much does a $50 gift card cost? It's not hard.
$73.
$73? $50. So what we did was we started instituting a prize for the top 3, the top 10. So every quarter we gave out $500. So that was what? $2,000 a year? $2,200,000. Now, $100 is a lot of money in a gift card for an individual. I can go shopping with that. That's awesome. This makes it important to me. So I started doing that. The other thing is, you have to make it easy for them to get responses, to your point. There was an organization I did a pen test for that was a bank. We tried everything to get in this place. They had OWA, Outlook, Web Access open. We tried a bunch of things doing phishing. We got one guy, one single individual to put his credentials in to our website, and that was it. We spent so much time trying to get this thing. And so we're like, well, let's log into his OWA and see if we can get anything further from there. So we logged into his OWA and noticed that the top email was our phishing email. And it was forwarded off to their security team. We're like, oh, crap. Done now, we got to start over. And one of the guys on our team was like, no, they didn't respond yet. And it was like, oh, what did he say? He asked if it was a legitimate email. So guess what we did? Yep. Guess what we got? So he ran the thing for us. It was awesome. So if you have a way for someone to report something via bug bounty, phishing, or anything like that, security related, if they don't get a response, someone else is going to. Even if it's automated, even if it's a thank you for reporting, but you need to have individuals following up. So the perfect people to run this for you is your help desk. And we'll talk more about the help desk later, but they are literally your front line. Okay. So I'm not going to talk about port forwarding honeypots, but you can ask me about this after. The honeypot stuff is kind of interesting, but way too hard to set up, and we've done that in the past. Anyone ever heard of WPAD? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? This is my favorite exploit of all time. This is the most wonderful thing in the world, and it's on by default in Windows all the way to 10. This little checkbox. That's it. It's in the internet settings under connection options. It's wonderful. I love it. You know why? Because when that's on, and it's on by default, when you're at anywhere, and I'm on the same network as you, your computer is asking the entire network that it can broadcast to, where is this computer called WPAD? Guess what my computer's called? WPAD. Every single computer I have is called WPAD. Why? Because as soon as any computer notices that there's a computer named WPAD, or even one saying that it is, it then sends a web request, an HTTP request, to that same system, asking for proxy configurations. Guess what I do then? Provide proxy configurations through me. It's awesome. Then I get to do whatever I want to your network traffic. Inject shellcode, inject Java applets, make the entire internet go upside down, anything I want.
Why is this thing on?
Why is this thing on? Because people use it. People actually have WPAD computers in their corporate network that do proxy configuration. No idea why. Why they don't do this box instead, but whatever. So, the thing is, this also works over IPv6. It looks for WPAD, 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 which is awesome. It's 3 times as fun. So if I provide you proxy configuration, I actually don't have to do that yet, because what it's doing is requesting a web request to an IP on its local network. Does anyone know what happens in Windows when it makes a web request to something on its own network? It authenticates. It attempts to authenticate. So guess what I do? I say, no, I'll give you the WPAD stuff in a second. Give me your creds first. And then Windows says, let me make sure you're in my trusted zone. Are you in my domain? No. Are you on the same network as me? Yes. Provide credentials. This is the easiest way to hack a Windows system ever, and it's built into Windows. I love it. As you can see, I get excited about it. The way to stop this is not simple. It sucks because it's not simple. First, in your network, anyone on your network could do this. When I first joined a company, because I name all of my computers WPAD, how many web requests do you think I get, like in a corporate network, within a few minutes? Hundreds. It's hilarious. So make these 2 DNS entries, one for IPv6 and one for IPv4. If you do that, then whenever someone's on your network, DNS is going to respond faster. And then it never asks for the NetBIOS stuff. But if you go to Starbucks and connect to that network, and I'm on Starbucks, my computer's automatically WPAD. There's no legal ramifications for me calling my computer WPAD. And if you're asking, your system is asking my system for stuff, I can tell you to do whatever I want you to, because you're the one actually using my system. Legally, I can do whatever I want. Now, if I try to exploit your system, that's where I get hairy. That's where it goes awry. If I if I provide you anything other than full proxy, then I am legally violent or bad. Disable NetBIOS resolution domain-wide. This is hard to do. NetBIOS settings are per user, per system. So disabling this at a GPO doesn't work. Disabling this at each system, you have to do it per user. It just is virtually impossible. I don't know why Windows doesn't make this easier, but it's how it is. Sorry?
Because it's Microsoft?
Because it's Microsoft. Yeah, okay. So making these changes, making sure that you just unclick that box in your Windows system will make me so much happier. Not because I love this system, but because it's so easy that it's kind of cruel and unusual, and I don't like that kind of stuff. Anyways. Okay, moving on. DNS, turn it off. Dun, dun, dun. You can actually turn off DNS forwarding, or DNS in general, in a corporate network. I've seen it happen at very, very large networks. Why? Because the average user doesn't have to request DNS. The average user is going to go to their proxy, which they always, always, always should have a proxy.
What if you're a university?
What?
What if you're a university?
If you're at a university,
Yeah.
then you segment off students and put proxies on all of the staff.
Administrative staff.
Yeah. Yeah, students should be in their own network where they can do all the research they want and get infected all they want. Yep, Virginia Tech I helped with that specifically. So when I first started at a big company, I was feeling on top of the world. I thought I was the biggest dog in the park. I had this new tool that did DNS-based C2, command and control. It means I can do DNS requests that go through whatever DNS server, all the way up through the chain and back down to my server, and then back all the way up through the other servers. So you can't block me because I'm going through your DNS server to do this. So I'm like, hey guys, check this out. And I started up, and it doesn't work. I'm like, why didn't it work? And the other guys on the team were going. And I'm like, why does this work? This should work, this is awesome. It does everything through DNS. And they kept laughing at me. Like, what the hell, guys? We have DNS turned off. No, there's no DNS requests because it all goes through the proxy. Your proxy actually can do all of the DNS requests. So when I tried to do NSLOOKUP google.com, it wouldn't work. When I tried to ping google.com, it wouldn't work because it couldn't resolve it. This stopped an entire class of command and control. No one could do DNS-based command and control. It means that even if we got infected, they couldn't get out because they'd have to go through the proxy. And we'll talk about that in a second. So getting back to using your pen testers a little bit better. How many in this room do regular password audits for their Windows domain? 2, 3-ish? How many do it for all of their Java applications? Yeah, no raised hands. How about for their databases? No raised hands. A pen tester or red team knows how to do this. Use them to do it. Take a day out of the pen test and say, instead of one of the phishing days that you have regulated to do this instead. You know what they're going to do? I get passwords. Every single one of them is going to do that. And guess what? If you give them a database password, they can't do past the hash with it, usually, depending on how you have it set up. So it's useless to them unless they break it. And if they break it, then they're going to report that to you, hopefully, because you trust them. And you're going to fix it. And then they can't use it. Win-win. Now, for the Active Directory stuff, one of the ways that we set this up, we made it automated. Because you can automate the Active Directory stuff, we made a virtual machine that sat on the domain controller. This virtual machine on the domain controller would dump hashes every so often. If it broke the hash, it would then lock out the user or send them an email, depending on the user's rank in our system, OU. It would then send them an email or lock them out and say, hey, select a better password.
I heard the editing in there. Blank, select a better password.
Yes. So RockU is the pen tester's go-to for cracking passwords. It's a password dump that happened because of a breach, but it has one of the best lists of real passwords ever created. You can find all kinds of websites to download this from. But if you take RockU and John the Ripper, which is both free tools, on Kali Linux, you can do this very easily. Run it in a virtual machine so no one can get to it. On your domain controller doing this cracking every so often. And then you have automated password auditing for free. Starting to see a theme, free. I like free. I don't like paying for blinky boxes that do nothing. All right, so we've gotten rid of DNS-based C2. We've gotten rid of buffer overflows and heap overflows. We've gotten rid of Java. What's left? How else does an attacker get in? Well, they have to go out. Social engineering kind of took care of that with the crowdsource stuff. But if they do get in, if they convince our guys that they're real, the only way out is through our proxies, right? So how do we stop that? Yeah?
What about things like SQL injection?
SQL injection is how they get into a SQL or web server, not how they get out.
Okay.
So here's the deal. If I'm an attacker, and I am the best attacker in the world, and I have exploits out the wazoo, I send all these phishing emails into your network, and I exploit everything. I have EMET bypasses, I do all kinds of stuff. And my code executes on those systems. It has to talk back to me. I have to tell it to do something, or it's useless. So getting back to the mindset of the dirt road in the what's the stupid word? The big start things with lanes. Highway, sorry. I'm horrible with words. And I'm giving a speech, which is awesome. So highway to dirt road. Getting back to that, we make it sure that we make our network a dirt road. And we put our protections at the dirt road part, not at the highway. So if the only way to get out is through our proxies, we need to put protections on that. And how do we do that? And I'll go back to that in a second. We make our proxies do something called a splash page. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen these with EULAs or applications or whatever. They tell you, hey, do you accept this thing? That's a splash page, right? If I put it on the proxy, this is it where it gets interesting. Because what I can do with this is something really cool. So in my proxy, I don't allow anything. I have it just like our firewalls. Most of your guys' firewalls, no matter what you have, has a default deny at the bottom, right? Or should. Yeah. No, I have an allow, Rob. I like everybody. Kumbaya. Default deny at the bottom. Why don't we do that with proxies? Because it's hard. Because then I have to allow each one, right? Well, how most of the industry has gotten around this is by categorization. This is all computer info. This is all financial. This is all banking. Well, guess what? People like me know how to get on those lists. It's very easy to get on those lists. All I have to do is register a domain, point it at something that looks financial, wait a few days, submit it to a bunch of places, wait a few more days, and now I'm on the list. So that's not very useful. So how do I do this? Well, I put it back to those users. Make it so that users actually help us out. But I play some tricks on them, psychology-wise. So what I did, and this worked at a big company, way bigger than most companies, Fortune 500 style. What we did was we took and made every single domain blacklisted, including Google. Everything was blacklisted. And the first person to come to work on January 1st, they got this page that says, hey, google.com has been blocked. Don't worry, this could be the first time today someone's attempted to go there. Click on the unblock to allow this domain through for the entire company. Psychology-wise, right? Oh crap. Do I really want to make this page available to the entire company? I'm going to pornhub.com. It's going to be recorded as me doing this thing. No, I do not. Block. Green, good. Red, bad. See how that works? We are primal creatures. We automatically levitate towards the green, automatically. Everyone who uses a computer does this. Next, 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 finish, right? That's how you install things on Windows. Block. So when someone goes to that page, they get this thing, and it says it's going to allow it for the entire company. It actually does. It goes, google.com is now allowed throughout the company. Now the next person who comes into work, Tim, coming into work and going, I go to google.com. It just works. That's our domain block list, or allow list. Next person who comes along, I'm going to go to google.com and then I'm going to click Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow goes, hey, block for the entire company. Would you like to allow this? Yeah, Stack Overflow, go. The cool thing about this is that it empowers the users. It gives you logging. It also makes it so that psychology-wise, I'm not going to get as much going through my network as I used to. It's going to cut down on porn a lot. Because if you think porn doesn't go through your company's web servers or proxies, you're wrong. And the other thing it does is completely destroys any kind of malware that could try and go through a proxy. Almost all malware is now proxy aware. They've gone through that hurdle. They've made all of their stuff proxy aware. However, not a single piece of malware I've ever seen knows how to click a button. It stops it. So, sure, our users can click on phishing emails all day. Unless their C2 goes to the same website as their phishing email, which never happens, because malware people are not that stupid. Because if I block their domain for phishing, I've blocked their C2 too, right? They always separate it. If I block, if they don't allow the thing, if there's no pop-up, because the malware is just executing as an application, if there's no pop-up, they can't click allow, and they can't do this. So, getting back to this, there is one thing, I'm sure all of you are thinking it. What about all the applications that do this stuff automatically? What about the legitimate programs that go out and request things? Well, what we did was, before we implemented this, we ran our proxy logs again and said, hey, what applications are doing one request to the splash page with no user agent or some other user agent and are getting stopped? Anyone have a guess on how many different domains that was to? 5, 10, 30, 30,000, 300,000? 270. Which seems like a lot, but it's after 270, you put that list in and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So yes, there was some configuration time. There was some time feeling this out, trying to see if it worked. But after we had it going, after we had one small default allow, every 30 days we flushed the list. Every 30 days, this list went gone. And people had to click on Google again. But in a company full of 300,000 employees, how many times do you think you saw this thing in a week? How many domains do you think? How many of you think you're such unique individuals that you don't go to the same websites as everyone else? Right? Maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, depending on how gung-ho you were at trying out new things. Do you think users complained about this? No, not at all. They loved it. Why? Because they didn't have to authenticate. They didn't have to do anything crazy. So, and I said something important there. Authentication and proxies. Why is authenticating proxies bad? Because the attackers can do it too. If it's an authenticating proxy, that means that I can automatically pull the credentials down. Now it says authenticated splash proxies right here. But the way that I talk about authenticated splash proxies is that it's a web form instead of automatic authentication. So they have to put a username and password in. But the fields, anyone program HTML forms before? If it says username and password, me as an attacker can figure it out. So just make it B and A, or C and T, whatever. Because the user's never going to know. It's going to say username colon whatever. But the form field identifier is going to be B and C. All right, make sense? Cool stuff? Yeah? Making you think a little bit? All right. Getting to the point where we're talking about, and I know I'm going over at this point. No. We started late though. So this is the fun stuff. This is where I get to talk about stories about how I got caught. Ever hear a pen tester talk about how he got caught? No. No. It's a pride thing, right? Like, I am the best in the world. Because pen testers, that's how they get hired. People want the best. So they have to have that ego. It sucks, it's stupid, but that's honestly how, how they get hired. This was an interesting one. So I was doing a pen test for another bank, actually. Doing a pen test for a bank. I got onto the network, dumped all the users in the network, and there was a domain admin called domain admin temp. It had the password in the description. It said password is, or temporary password is, Bob's user, whatever. Guess what I did? Yay! I'm done. Tried it out. Guess what happened? Anytime that user, so it was a valid user. It was a totally legitimate user. The password was valid. It actually had the ability to log in, but the logon hours was 0. You know what happens when that's set in Windows? It can never log in. If you set a user's logon hours to 0 or nothing, it can never successfully log in. What does that feedback to me? It says access granted, because the username and password is correct, disconnect. So the feedback I got was, it worked, but I got disconnected for some reason. Guess what I did? Tried again. I tried again, and I tried again, and I tried again, and I tried again. Guess what happened? The guy who set this thing up had it forwarding an email to the entire SOC every time that user ever got used. So every single time I tried it, they got an email. How many emails do you think they got? 3, 30,000? A whole lot, right? So that was an easy way for you to catch a pen tester. And the security mechanism, or not just a pen tester, any malware guy, any person who's trying to break into your network, they see this and they're going to go after it. It's too easy to not go after. So that protection right there is worth 3 IDSs, 30 IDSs, 100 IDSs. And the guy who invented this or thought this up was just some admin who thought it was funny. It's ingenious. Next one. Oh my gosh, I hated this one so bad. So there was a share called Password Audit 2014 or 2015 or 2016, whatever it was. It had an Excel document. This share was open to the world. Anybody could access this share. I was like, yeah. I didn't learn my lesson. So open it up. There's an Excel document in there. It's like 5 megs big or 4 megs. Excel document. Password Audit 2014. Guess what I did? Click, click. Didn't open. Access denied. So guess what I did? I tried logging in as another user I had. Click, click. Access denied. Because Windows, if you have access denied or don't have the ability to view a file, won't let you see the security settings of that file, I had no idea who had access to it. So guess how many different users that I had that I tried? Every single one of them. Guess what they found out when I tried it? All of the users I had credentials for. And every time I clicked on it, guess what happened? An email sent out to the SOC. Actually, this was this particular one was the CSO. It was a pretty small company, but the CSO got an email every single time I clicked on it. Every single time I tried to open that file. Guess how long it took him to set that up? Less than a day. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Guess how many false positives you get out of it? 0. Because if anybody tries to access that file, even if it's a legitimate employee, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. This one actually resulted in us hiring the guy as a pen tester because this was so hilarious. So there's a computer that he had set up. He just had it on a laptop. small little decommissioned laptop that he put to the side, called it backup database. Prime target, that's where I'm going. If I get all the backups, I'm done. Backup database, had a really out-to-date MySQL database. Easy. Root. Anyone know the password for root on MySQL? No password, nothing. Or root, or root MySQL. Guess what I did? Root, no password. Guess what it said? Success. So I was on the system, except for what he did was he actually deleted the authentication DLL so any password would work, but it wouldn't do anything. So he deleted the DLL and MySQL still booted up somehow, or started the service. And I'd try and log in and it said success and then disconnect. Yes, you can see that I don't learn very well. Tried it, did disconnect. Tried it again, disconnected. Tried it again, disconnected. And all this laptop did was show a screen showing where it connected from, and he was a Cisco admin, so it also showed the actual switch port where it was connecting from. So what he did next was he got up and walked over to the switch and looked at me. And we were all sitting in this room, we were doing a team pen test, and he comes over and looks at us. And he's like, hey, you guys the pen testers? And we were caught. Like, he disabled our switch port for our entire team, and we were done. So we hired him, so he wouldn't do that again. But it's really smart. It's simple, tiny little things that take a day to set up that will catch people. Defense is just taking a little bit of creativity and throwing it in. Web developers, I'm sure you guys are going to like this one. Web developer made an htaccess file that automatically forwarded any common scanners to 402. You guys know what 402 is? Payment required. So basically what he was saying to anyone who scanned his page is pay me. Guess what happened when you did that? Like all of the scan that you did for it said vulnerable, vulnerable, vulnerable all over the place. Like it's running Java, Ruby, Python, everything. Because he had all these pages in his htaccess file that automatically resolved to the same 402 response. Now, whenever I tried to scan his box or do a web assessment with a scanner, it would just blow up because it'd find everything. So trying to manually go through was really difficult. The next one was actually not me. I'm learning. I'm getting along here. So we were doing this assessment, and on one of our, we got through it and got to the Oracle application where it stored all of the money. We were happy. Had all the credit cards. So inside of Oracle, it had this database, or yeah, I think they're called databases inside of Oracle. I thought there was something different. So this database that said BA 420470, CN 249222, credit cards, T42225, and all these other stuff. Guess which one we opened first? Credit cards. Guess what we saw in there? Credit cards. We were happy. Then we logged out, went and did our report. When we went to the little powwow afterwards and said, we got your credit cards. You're like, yeah, no you didn't. All the credit cards were in those other databases. What they did was created a fake database called credit cards and loaded it up with fake credit cards you can generate here. Because this website generates credit cards for you, just dummy data. They generated like 50,000. And we'd come with a printout of all 50,000 credit cards. We thought we were awesome. The next one was funny. We were doing this outside-in assessment, got to the VPN, saw the VPN was a Juniper VPN. Anyone ever deal with Juniper VPNs? They allow you to customize their page. So you can make it look like a logo on there, you can do all kinds of stuff. Well, I'd never been to see a Juniper VPN page before. So what I did was I view sourced. Like anytime I go to a web page for an assessment, I view sourced. Start looking through it and see what's inside, or go through burp. Well, inside of this page, they had added a comment saying default or test username and password for VPN. Bob. Something easy. It was something stupid. Do I have it up? Yeah. So commented out, so it wouldn't show up on the page. Just it'd show up for people trying to break in, or people, curious. But if you logged in, it was valid. It actually let you log in to the VPN, but had 0 applications applied to it. So you were logged in, but you couldn't do anything. Do you know how that makes a pen tester feel? Horrible. Like, we beat our heads up beside that one. We're like, there has to be a way for us to pivot through this application, do this thing, and move around. There has to be. So we spend hours on that page, logged in, trying stuff. Gives you 20 seconds to find us with that. Like, logging in, logs of that user. If anyone ever tries to log into that user, automatically block the IP or whatever. So yeah, I had fun with that one. For that one, I think what happened was if someone logged in, they just blocked the IP. There wasn't anything fun on their side about this one. Oh God. The next one made me the most hated person on our team for a very long time. So we had 2 parts of the team. One was doing phishing, and one was doing web app assessment. We were trying to break in both ways. So those phishing guys sent phishing emails. They were successful. They got a bunch of credentials. Credentials came back. They're like, we got credentials. And they started looking at other ways to pivot around, do voice stuff. They were off doing their own thing. We started doing the web app assessment, started going through stuff. I found a page that allowed domain login. I'm like, hey guys, you got credentials, we can try these logins, and it might give us the ability to do stuff on the web page. Everyone that I tried said success. Well, they're valid credentials, we got them from the users, that makes sense. What happened was, everyone we tried said success, and then issued a request to Active Directory to disable the user. This was a dummy page that didn't do anything. Didn't log in, didn't actually do anything. It just took anyone actually dumb enough to enter credentials into and sent it off to disable the user. So I effectively burned every single credential the phishing guys done. Think they trusted me with credentials ever again? No. Not at all. They hated me because they had worked all this time to get the phishing stuff going, get success there, and move on. And they didn't get anything out of it because I burned every single piece of it. Because I was an idiot and tried every single account they had gotten. Then another guy set up a machine that does absolutely nothing. It just listens with netcat to port 23, which is also very easy to set up. And what they did was, as soon as any request came in, it would alert their SOC just on a screen. It literally was a Raspberry Pi connected to a screen in the SOC. And it told you exactly what IP was hitting that box on 23. That's it. That's as simple as it's got. How many false positives do you think there was? 0. The vuln scanner was the only one that came through and hit up on the screen, and they knew the IP of that one. So all they did was ignore that one. They know what days it would come by too. So we got caught almost instantly on that test. We got in, we broke in, got it onto the first box, did a scan around for anything that was 22, 23, 21, 80, 84, 80, 84, 43. As soon as we hit the box that had 23 open, they knew exactly where we were. They shut us down so quick. So you guys are starting to think that I'm not the greatest pen tester in the world, aren't you? No. So getting back to making it so that we can get this stuff better. Evil Canaries is fun and hilarious, easy to set up. All of those other protections are free and easy to set up. The Splash Proxy is a little tough because there isn't a product out there that does it. You just have to make it. You get some Flash developer, if they still exist, JavaScript or whatever, set up and to make this thing happen. And do some time, do some work to actually get these two things set up, like do the domain stuff and get that going. But at the end of the day, your IDS is just a machine. Your proxy is just a machine. It doesn't, there is no, oh my God, I hate this word, threat intelligence that's going to tell you anything about your network that's going to work well. You know who knows your network? Your help desk. Why? Because they get all the complaints. No? Well, they get all the complaints. Anytime there's anything bad happening on your network, someone's calling complaining about it. What I think that more companies need to do is start involving them in the security process. Saying, hey, if you get a call saying, I got a weird email, or my email doesn't work, or I couldn't log in, that might be the PW dump on IIS that you're looking for. That might be the trigger that starts you into an investigation that actually leads somewhere. What is the help desk going to do normally? Reset the account, fix it. That's what they're there for. Unless you tell them otherwise. Unless you tell them, hey, help us out. Get them involved. They might actually enjoy it. You might actually get someone hired off of that to do security. So that's it. Thank you very much. These are how to contact me. I appreciate your time.